Oh, just real quick, spoiler alert in this episode. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Alex here from Beyond the Real, and of course, another week, another episode of Loki. Apologize for the late upload, but let's get into episode 4. Yeah, it was interesting. They really took it in a direction I did not expect, but we got some new stuff to talk about. Mainly now that Loki is telling everyone about their variant status. It was interesting. I know I say that a lot, but I really like that in this episode, he kind of plants that seed and it starts to grow on people because as we learned from the last episode, Sylvie said that they're all variants, and in this episode we get to see how Sylvie messes with, I forget her name, I think it's Hunter B-15. Hunter B-15 approaches her after she's captured because she's really starting to second guess like what's going on. And in the show we see that we don't get to see what she shows Hunter B-15, but she shows Hunter B-15 something that makes her change her mind and the stance that she has with Sylvie. And of course, also, all this happens because who knows what happened off screen with the capturing of Sylvie and the interrogation of Sylvie, but it was enough to, really throw Hunter B-15 off. And once she talked to Mobius, when they were passing in the hallway, she really bought it whenever Mobius said that Loki said that the TVA was lying to her. So, I really want to know, like, how that's going to come back, how that's going to play out, what effect that's going to have in the next 2 episodes, I believe. Because at the end, Hunter B-15 really helps, set the plan into motion, because at the end she comes out to rescue Loki and Sylvie, or at least assist them. And also, speaking of Loki, the whole thing with him falling in love with himself, a different version of himself, was funny. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure, I don't think that's too much of a stretch. I'm pretty sure that could happen to some people, most people, that could happen to everybody, I don't know. But it was kind of funny, and that's what caused the Nexus event, which caused them to be rescued. And of course, whenever he comes back to the TVA and he's talking with Mobius, and then of course once Mobius figures that out, like, it's really weird because Mobius starts like giggling and he's like, "Oh, you like her, you really like her," and then like it gets kind of awkward, but it's kind of funny. And then eventually, just like with Hunter B-15, that is imposed on Mobius, who really starts to second guess himself. And then same with, and also continuing on that idea, like, we also see Mobius, come into the plan as well, trying to help both Lokis. So anyways, so I think the big takeaway was just exactly what, I'm not going to remember her name, but it starts with an R. The main lady. Because at the beginning of the episode, we see how she used to be one of the Minutemen. And, whenever we first see her, she's kind of like the judge character. And she's basically like in charge there. And like now we see a flashback with her whenever she goes to kidnap Sylvie. And I thought it was interesting because one thing that we've seen from Sylvie was that, like, she's very rough around the edges. She's pretty violent and, like, just stuff like that. But we see her as a little girl, innocent, and it was a really I don't know what I'm trying to say, but we see her as a little girl, and she's playing with toys. And I believe she says something along the lines of something that has to do, the story that she was conveying in her toys was about the Valkyries saving Asgard. And then when she's taken to the TVA, she sees one of the other variants, being apprehended, and she's like, help him. So, I mean, of course, she's a little girl, so, she still has that innocence to her, but seeing that compared to what we have seen with her, like, killing people with, like, no hesitation, I think was something that was cool to see. And then, of course, we get something with Sylvie, because also our Loki is like very much into her, and she's very confused, and she's like, hey. And we see that at the end whenever he's like, Sylvie, I don't know how to tell you this, and she's just like, please don't give me another pep talk. And like the whole time Loki's trying to figure out how to say what he wants to say, and Sylvie's just like, okay. But anyways, back to Boss Lady. I'm trying to figure out how or what her role is in this plan, because she obviously knows much more than everyone else, because she seems to know that the people in the TVA are variants. She seems to know that already, because we saw with the other hunter from the last episode, like we saw that whenever they brought her back, she was basically put down, and we see her in the file that Mobius looks over, that she's the one who turned it off, and she was like, yeah, that she doesn't flat out say it, but she pretty much implies that she or whoever killed that hunter. So she seems to know that everyone is a variant, and of course, seeing her early on before she got to her position, that was just one thing that just makes this whole situation very makes me question everything, because of course, as it should, because as the story is going along, they're going to show us more things. But it made me question a lot, because whenever she's talking to Mobius, he takes her little whatever that device is, and he takes it, and then once she realizes that people are starting to put two and two together, like she basically takes care of him. She gets Mobius derezed. I believe they call it pruned in the show, but he gets pruned. At the end, she prunes Loki, and once they get to the Timekeepers, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place, but whenever they reach the Timekeepers, I'm not completely sure if she knew that they were fake. I couldn't really tell. I couldn't really get that from her expression, but it was interesting, and I wonder what they're going to tell us, if she knew that they were fake or not. And that just causes me to question everything else, because now that they're lying to their community that they're variants, they're keeping that from them. Like, what is the big picture here? What is the whole game plan? And of course, at the end, once we see that Loki is pruned, but he's really shows up somewhere else, it makes me question, like, so then obviously that happens to everyone, right? So maybe they don't really die, they're just taken out of the TVA and they're just transported somewhere else, and that's how they rule by fear, I guess. Or you could say that because these people are variants and they're causing like the timeline rifts that they talked about in the first episode, that since they're taking these variants from one timeline and putting them in the other timeline, it makes me come to the realization or theorize that their mindset is that taking this variant out of this timeline and putting them in a different timeline would essentially get rid of that threat that they're trying to get away from, because they say that like all these different timelines would eventually at some point converge and like pretty much be like at war and be this huge disaster. So I think that's their way of trying to keep that from happening, by taking like all these variants from different timelines. And also another random thought is that like, what is the whole deal with that pen? And it even makes me question, like, what if that pen and like the trophies, what exactly is that a direct reference to Mobius, because whenever she sees the one of like the high school, it makes me wonder, like, what if that has to do with Mobius and like his life before the TVA was that he was like a high school principal or a teacher or like a high school counselor. So it just made me think about that. But yeah, I'm interested to see how he's going to return, or how they will return, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Because as we see in the early, I think it was the second episode, when they go to Roxcart, whatever that store was called, they're showing like all these different variants of Loki. And of course, once Loki gets approved, and in the post-credit scene we see that he's there with other versions of himself. I wonder I'm pretty sure that's what this led up to, of what I was talking about earlier, that idea that I didn't quite get off the ground of them taking these variants out of their timelines and just throwing them in this holding cell, I guess. Because we see that there's like an older Loki, there's a young Loki, there's that Loki with a hammer, and I think that kid had I don't know if it was an alligator or a lizard, but there's that. So I'm pretty sure in this next episode we're gonna get a lot from that. I hope we get a lot from that. And yeah, the run's coming to an end, and I'm really excited to see what happens in these next episodes, and how that's gonna convey and bring that story to a close, and how they're gonna come back to that, and how this is going to affect the whole MCU as a whole, and what this whole thing is about. Because now that I'm thinking, like, in the first episode, whenever they showed the stained glass window of the devil, and like they kind of made it seem like they're referring to Loki. So, but we haven't really came back to that. So I just wonder, like, the whole thing with the timekeepers, I predicted that they were going to be fake or a facade, and I mean, they pretty much are. So I wonder if Boss Lady knew the whole time, or if she's secretly controlling them, or what if it's another Loki that's controlling them? That would be wild. Or like, what's going on with Miss Minutes? Because what if Miss Minutes is just like a program or something? Because we haven't seen Miss Minutes since episode 2, but for some reason, like, they were selling toys, or she was included as an accessory to one of the pop figures that are really popular right now. So I wonder if Miss Minutes is gonna have some kind of role, because I remember when Loki, spoke about her, he was like, "Are you recording?" And she's like, "Not really." So that kind of makes me believe that she's some kind of program. So it makes me wonder if she's gonna have a role, or if it's Boss Lady behind everything, or if Boss Lady is just the pawn, or if they're gonna introduce Kang, like everyone says they are. But I don't know. I just wonder, because we do know that Kang, as of right now, is supposed to be introduced, or he's supposed to be in the next Ant-Man movie to some extent. So who knows? Maybe this will set that up, or maybe this will just set up Doctor Strange with all the multiverses, or perhaps none of that's gonna happen, and this is just gonna be a standalone story. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. As each episode goes by, I get more excited. So I'm trying not to read too hard between the lines, like Mark and I did during WandaVision. So yeah, I hope that this turns out to be a well-crafted story, and I'm interested to see what happens next. So with that being said, thanks for hanging out. Thank you for being here with me and sharing this time. And of course, as always, enjoy yourselves, be good to yourselves, and I'll see you guys next week. This has been fun. My name is Alex. This is Beyond the Real, and I hope to see you soon. All right? Bye.